The war in Ukraine grinds on. The front line remains volatile. Ukrainian troops are engaged in heavy fighting. They are trying to push back against Russian forces.
Despite the ongoing conflict, President Volodymyr Zelensky has hinted at the possibility of negotiations with Russia. This unexpected move comes as Ukraine faces significant challenges. The conflict has taken a heavy toll on the country. The economy is struggling. Millions of people have been displaced. The situation on the front line remains difficult. Ukraine relies heavily on military aid from its allies.
Zelensky's suggestion of negotiations has sparked debate. Some see it as a sign of weakness. Others view it as a pragmatic approach to a complex problem. The potential for a negotiated settlement remains uncertain. Mistrust between Ukraine and Russia runs deep. The outcome of the war will have far-reaching consequences. It will reshape the geopolitical landscape of Europe. The world is watching closely. The stakes are incredibly high. The future of Ukraine hangs in the balance. The possibility of a Donald Trump presidency adds another layer of complexity. Trump's stance on Ukraine has been unpredictable. He has praised Vladimir Putin in the past. He has also questioned the level of U.S. support for Ukraine.
Trump's potential return to the White House has raised concerns in Kiev. Ukraine relies heavily on U.S. military aid. A Trump presidency could threaten that support. It could weaken Ukraine's position in any future negotiations.
Trump's foreign policy approach often prioritized his own interests. He showed little interest in multilateralism or promoting democracy abroad. This approach could have significant implications for Ukraine. It could embolden Russia. The uncertainty surrounding U.S. support adds to the pressure on Zelensky. He must navigate a complex geopolitical landscape. He needs to find a way to end the war. He must also secure Ukraine's future. Zelensky's hint at negotiations has elicited mixed reactions. Western allies have expressed cautious support. They recognize Ukraine's right to explore diplomatic solutions. They also remain wary of Russia's intentions.
Some European countries have urged Ukraine to consider negotiations. They are feeling the economic strain of the war. They are also concerned about the potential for the conflict to escalate. Their stance reflects the delicate balance they must strike.
Russia's response has been lukewarm. The Kremlin has expressed a willingness to talk. However, it has shown no signs of softening its demands. Russia continues to insist on Ukraine's neutrality. It demands recognition of its territorial gains. The international community plays a crucial role. It can encourage dialogue. It can provide humanitarian assistance. It can help mediate a peaceful resolution. It must also hold Russia accountable for its actions.
Zelensky's shift towards negotiations is a calculated gamble. It reflects the difficult realities facing Ukraine. The war has come at a tremendous cost. The economy is in ruins. Millions are displaced. The military situation is also challenging. While Ukrainian forces have made gains, the fighting continues. A protracted war would inflict further damage on Ukraine. It could also lead to a stalemate.
Zelensky's decision suggests a recognition of these challenges. He is seeking to end the bloodshed. He is hoping to secure a future for his country. Negotiations offer a path, albeit a risky one. This shift does not mean Zelensky is surrendering. He remains committed to Ukrainian sovereignty. He will likely use negotiations to seek the best possible outcome for Ukraine. He is playing a weak hand as best he can.
Negotiating with Russia carries significant risks. Putin has a history of breaking agreements. He has shown little regard for international law. He may use negotiations to buy time. He could regroup his forces. Any agreement would require concessions from both sides. Ukraine may be forced to make painful compromises. It could involve territorial concessions. It could mean accepting limitations on its sovereignty.
Despite the risks, negotiations also offer potential rewards. They could lead to a ceasefire. This would end the bloodshed and allow for humanitarian aid to reach those in need. Negotiations could pave the way for a lasting peace agreement. The outcome of any negotiation will depend on several factors. These include the military situation on the ground, the level of international support for Ukraine, and the willingness of both sides to compromise. The stakes are incredibly high.
The international community has a crucial role to play in shaping the future of Ukraine. It must continue to provide support, both military and humanitarian. It must also maintain pressure on Russia to end the war. The international community should encourage dialogue between Ukraine and Russia. It can facilitate negotiations. It can help mediate a peaceful solution. It must also be prepared to hold both sides accountable for any agreements reached.
The future of Ukraine remains uncertain. The outcome of the war will have far-reaching consequences for the region and the world. The coming months will be critical. The choices made by Ukraine, Russia, and the international community will determine the fate of a nation.